4 provinces have been completed so far, with the remaining scheduled for the end of this year. All too often, I have heard from participants and community members that the program has become associated with political patronage, irregular recruitment, and gatekeeping. There is a lack of transparency in how people are appointed, which creates frustration and tensions in our communities. Often, municipalities are not equipped to be able to execute the program, and we have, in some instances, had to stop transfers to those municipalities that do not comply with audit and financial controls. Our view, therefore, is that EPWP must be refocused around transparency, training, and opportunity. Our vision for EPWP includes longer project durations, allowing for real skill development, fairer compensation, enterprise development and support for EPWP graduates starting small businesses, monitoring the impact of constructed assets and their value to communities, a pilot biometric attendance system to improve accountability and recruitment. We will be taking the human interface out of recruitment away from EPWP, which causes so much tension, as well as greater alignment between national and provincial departments, especially for maintenance and infrastructure projects. And lastly, a new partnership with the Harambee Youth Accelerator, focusing on skills pipelines in renewable energy and maintenance sectors. Our aim, ladies and gentlemen, is to ensure that EPWP participants exit the program with more opportunity than when they first entered it, and with a certificate, a skill, or a viable economic path, not just a stipend and a memory. I want to touch on the George building collapse, and I also want to do so with a somber reflection on this national tragedy which befell us last year. The collapse of a 5-story building in George on the 6th of May claimed 34 lives and injured many more. On the 2nd of June, I received the final report from the Council of the Built Environment in South Africa. It details a pattern of preventable errors, regulatory failures, and professional negligence. When I received the report, I committed to do 3 things. 1 was to study it thoroughly. 2 was to ensure that the findings are actioned and acted upon. And 3 was to personally present it to the affected families. That visit was scheduled for this coming Saturday, but due to the funeral of former Deputy President David Mabuza, I'll be now meeting with the families in George the following Saturday, the 19th of July. The Council for the Built Environment and the Engineering Council of South Africa will also brief the public on the outcome of these reports at the conclusion of our meeting with the families. I do, however, want to caution some political parties who are determined, in my view, to sink the investigation that will hold people responsible for demanding reports that the police have asked us to handle with care for fear of risking the investigation. While you may get a headline here and there and a TV interview, I appeal to those political parties to please put the families first and the pursuit of justice instead of your own narrow interests. I can assure the public that the families that I have met with in George support our approach and endorse it. And in often case, they don't even know who some of these people are that speak on their behalf or through political parties. We will do what is right because we want to see people held accountable for the deaths of 34 construction workers. I will also be taking a report to Cabinet in due course on the findings and recommendations so that we tighten up our laws and regulation to prevent this disaster from ever happening again, because the reality is that it was entirely preventable. Accountability cannot be optional when lives are lost due to human error. Ladies and gentlemen, this past year has not been easy, but it has been incredibly rewarding. The Department of Public Works and Infrastructure, in my view, is in better shape today than it was 12 months ago. And that's not to say that it's perfect, but we are on the right track. And the exciting thing is that we're only just beginning. This afternoon I will table our budget vote to Parliament, and I will outline our next chapter focused on 5 key pillars: fighting corruption and strengthening governance, accelerating infrastructure delivery, restructuring our asset management systems, reforming the EPWP program, and driving digitization across our department. I've often said that becoming a minister was the most difficult job I've ever had, and I've had a few difficult jobs in my life, but it has also been the most rewarding job that I've ever had. I want to take this moment to express my deepest appreciation to the team that has walked this path with me, particularly the man on my right, the DG. Thank you for your steadfast leadership and your unwavering commitment to public service and to the department. Over the past year, you have been instrumental in helping to reimagine this department, not as a relic of bureaucracy, but as a dynamic vehicle for economic delivery. Your dedication to governance, reform, and your support of our strategic vision has been invaluable. To Ms. Masemola, on my left, our Acting Head of Infrastructure South Africa, thank you for helping us to cultivate a renewed national passion for infrastructure. Under your stewardship and leadership, ESA is becoming the engine room for high-impact infrastructure projects capable of attracting investment and transforming communities. That is seen by the phenomenal success that we had at SIDS SA a few weeks ago, and Mametsi will touch on that. Your technical insight, collaborative spirit, and ability to think boldly about South Africa's potential has set a new standard. And to the entire Department of Public Works and Infrastructure and my personal office, I want to say thank you very much for your dedication to building a better South Africa. Thank you so much. DG?
Thank you very much, Minister. Let me greet the media. Maybe I want to touch on the ICT modernization and digitization of the department. That's one single area that will see us moving or turning a corner as a department. I want to indicate that we are moving hard to realize this goal, and owing to this new minister that we have created a new branch that will be reporting directly to myself, that will be leading ICT, which is the level at which that we want to take ICT very seriously. Part of the other issues that we are going to be focusing on is the issue of e-procurement, because we realize the interaction of procurement with human beings directly, it causes a lot of problems for us. Now, e-procurement will assist us to eliminate the red tape of human touch around this particular area. I think it's part of the top of the list of the projects that we're going to be doing, and we're benchmarking ourselves working with KZN in this particular area. Other modernization projects will be following up in due course, and I think we'll be announcing as we move, just to indicate that we're going to be getting quite an integrated system as soon as that is possible. And then the other issue I want to touch on, which the Minister might have touched on, is the issue of our structure, organization structure, to how far it is effective and also fit for purpose in order to reflect and actually realize the dream that the Minister has actually just outlined this morning. I believe that we have done some level of auditing at skills level. So we've audited skills for all senior managers in the department, which I want to emphasize. Public Works is a technical department, so is our structure should reflect it as such. We should have a strong skill sets that have actually technical people. Here we're seeking to really professionalize the department by making sure that the skill sets that we have encompasses such people, and we're not at that stage yet. We're looking for ensuring that the department has got economists, property specialists, actuaries, and property developers, etc., including the built environment skills, which covers your engineers, technologists, technicians, and also other skills that are attached to it, which is your architects, your quantity surveyors, etc. So I think, Minister, with all that, I think we should be able to assist you and support you in your dream. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mamit?
Thank you very much, Minister, and greetings to all of you. I will touch on essentially 3 areas as an update from the work that Infrastructure South Africa is doing currently. The first one is around the replenishing of the current project pipeline. So as you know, Infrastructure South Africa is mandated to prepare and package projects, mega infrastructure projects that are able to attract funding from the National Treasury or financing from the private sector. So in this regard, following the CITES-A, our Infrastructure Investment Summit that the Minister referenced earlier on, we have announced 7 top priority projects that we're going to be preparing and packaging this year. They align with government priorities. We're going to focus on rail and port development. We're going to focus on energy projects. And lastly, we're going to focus on water and sanitation projects, specifically those projects that are in the wastewater treatment plant space, as well as water reuse programs. Just recently, I think it was 2 weeks ago, we have the highest decision-making structure internally. It's called the Infrastructure Investment Committee that the Minister chairs. That structure has approved 6 projects. These are blended finance projects and PPPs worth 40 billion rand. They will be going to or being submitted to the National Treasury through the Budget Facility for Infrastructure program to essentially get additional fiscal allocation for those projects to the tune of 20 billion rand. And the rest of the money is going to be leveraged from the private sector once those projects are approved by the National Treasury. Just to indicate as well and re-emphasize the fact that we have released the 2nd edition of the construction book. This is a central repository of information of projects that are already funded from the fiscus, and these projects will be going out to market for tendering stage. Collectively, those projects are worth 268 billion rand, and so they are a construction opportunity essentially for the construction sector and supplier industries. They now have a line of sight of what of these projects will be going out to market. Lastly, just to indicate as well that we have embarked on the Adopt a Municipality pilot program. This is an initiative of the President as mandated our Minister to champion. We're going to be assisting and working with 4 municipalities in 4 provinces: Northwest, Mpumalanga, Free State, and KwaZulu-Natal. So these are very small local municipalities that are relatively stable, relatively well run. They have improving audit outcomes. We're going to be helping them with preparing and packaging projects, raising funding for those projects, and also providing technical implementation support for those municipalities. And I think here, what is going to be the game changer from our side is that we have already secured partnerships from international financing institutions, the FDCO, which is a UK agency, UK government agency, as well as the ITEF, it's the Infrastructure Technical Assistance Facility in National Treasury, to help and work with us in preparing and packaging those projects with these municipalities, working with them to raise funding for them, as well as supporting them from an implementation perspective. We thought that from our side as ISA, those would be the quick updates we can provide for you today. Thank you very much, Minister.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Honourable Minister, DG and colleagues. We're going to have to try and manage time. We're going to open the session for questions. Can I just check, Nandipa, let me start with the colleagues online before I come to the colleagues in the room. Nandipa, is there anything on your side? There's nothing. I've got one here coming from Carte Blanche. Minister, is for you. It says, how many officials from the IDT have been singled out for lifestyle audits, and who are they? Can I come to the colleagues in the room? Can I get an indication for hands? Yes, sir. You've been next, the second person. Okay, let's start in that order. Then we take another round.
Thank you so much, Minister. My name is Dennis Dahlbroek from Netwerk 24. Minister, just on the George building collapse, you have that report now. You say that it could have been prevented. Can we expect to see criminal charges being laid soon against those responsible? And then my second question relates to the Expropriation Act that was signed into law by the President earlier this year. It's been a while since we received an update on the Expropriation Act. Can you give us an update on where this process is currently standing, and what is your view on this matter? How can it benefit your department? Thank you.
It's Arthur from HeartFM. Minister, my first question is about EPWP. You want to bring some changes. Can you just give us a timeline or time frame to complete or to change that policy of it involves EPWP, and maybe when can we expect outcomes? Other questions are related to the telecom tower. There was a sort of a letter that was sent by your predecessor to the DG to include the tower project into ICU. Perhaps maybe have you received maybe update whether that it was incorporated to SIU? The second question is, you talked about the investigation that is currently underway. Perhaps maybe, do you believe perhaps maybe that there must be management consequences for those who are involved, who have done some wrongdoing? And also, just my last question is, do you believe perhaps maybe this project should be scrapped now?
Let's hand over to the Minister, and then we'll take the final round.
Thank you very much. With regards to officials for lifestyle audit, contrary to what the Star publishes often, I do not get involved in the management and running of entities. Those are solely for the responsibility of the board. I make recommendations to the board, and the board then decides what to do with it. I recommended to the board that, considering the very public allegations that have been made, that lifestyle audits should be conducted on all senior managers in the IDT. That was adopted by the board. Obviously, the board's term came to an end on Friday last week. We have you will be aware that Cabinet approved a new board unanimously. We are in the process of just having the Master of the Court, because it is a trust, issue those new trustee letters. And then that new board, when it convenes hopefully next week, I'm sure that they will pick up that resolution to continue those lifestyle audits. Dennis, from what I've seen, I think that criminal charges are obviously required, and I think that criminality does exist. 34 people don't just die in a building and everyone walks away and continues with life as normal. That is why I'm so determined to protect the integrity of the investigation from political interference and pressure, because if we get it wrong, I'm going to be held accountable for it. So on the one hand, some politicians are screaming and shouting that they want reports released. Those same people will scream and shout when people walk free because the investigation was compromised. You can't have it both ways. So we are going to protect that. There is an outstanding report still from the Department of Labour. I've been engaging my colleague, Minister Meth, to conclude that, because that is now the outstanding report that the police need. The good thing is that it is being led, the investigation, in a prosecutorial way, so that as they investigate, the dockets for prosecution are being prepared. With regards to expropriation, you'll be aware that that matter is before the court. Papers are being filed left, right, and centre. A lot of interest in that. So I will hold in abeyance my comments until that case has been finalised, because I also don't want to be accused of trying to interfere in court cases. People like to blame me for a lot of things all the time. So I want to avoid blame of that. Heart FM, EPWP is a huge project that millions of people rely on. And that's why one of the frustrating things for me has been the gradual decline of funding for the program. And I understand that we all have to make cuts. And that's actually what prompted me to rethink the program, is to say that we have to work in conjunction with the private sector to leverage our contribution into what they are looking for. It's no good having a skills pipeline project that doesn't speak to what the market is looking for. And so our real focus on EPWP is within the built environment, so people have skills to participate in construction, in infrastructure maintenance going forward. We are doing two things at the same time. We are finishing our interaction with the community. Let me say that people overwhelmingly support the work that we are doing to reform the program. And at the same time, in conjunction with Harambee, we are piloting two projects, one in KwaZulu-Natal and the second in Limpopo, on this new biometric system, on being able to link participants with people in the private sector. And the great thing is through Harambee is that if you have then completed the course on, let's say, bricklaying, that people in the private sector and yourself will be able to link up through the app as well. So that is hugely exciting, and is eventually what we will get to. Once we have the full policy concluded, we will do so, but I'm trying to get it done as quickly as possible. Also, I don't want to give a timeline, because if I say a day, on the day afterwards you'll come and ask me where that thing is, and then you'll say I failed. So we are trying to do it as quickly as possible. It is not forever. If people are not held with consequences for their role, either in Telkom or in IDT, we will have failed, and I will have failed as a minister. People must be held accountable. And I have been very clear to the man on my right also, he leads the administration, that officials that do not perform their duties and their tasks need to go somewhere else. Because we have so much work to do. We've got to get through a lot. We cannot afford to be held back by interests or people who don't want to get on with their job. But I can assure you that there will be consequences, both internally and criminally, for people in both of those projects.
Okay. Thank you very much. Let's take the final round here from the colleagues in the room. Anybody with a new question before I take this follow-up from Ada?
And then we are going to the budget vote.
And you go ahead with your follow-up question.
Thank you, Mr. Mawaz. Minister, there were reports that the amount of money that was spent at that time, it was more than 600 million. There are reports that it has now reached 1 billion. Can you comment on that? Lastly, if perhaps maybe the investigation comes out, perhaps maybe there are any possibilities maybe to recover that money from those who were involved?
All right, I take it that's the last question. It is more than $1 billion now. We have spent much more than that on security, on renovations, so we are at more than R1 billion. The question that we need to ask ourselves was that purchase required in the first place? And I think that if you look back now in hindsight, that the answer to that would have been no. It was not a strategic procurement for either the department or SAPS to do. The question of what happens now is actually what we ask for the auditing firm to try and assist us with. We will then have to take a strategic decision to say, government has spent R1 billion here. This is probably only worth, I don't even think it's worth half of that today. You would probably need another $1 billion to renovate all of it. Do we need that? And that's a very sober, difficult decision that we will have to take. And then obviously then forward that on to the SIU and say, we would like you now to go and recover what could possibly be recoverable out of that. So it's a critical issue that we must get right. We are also trying to, as you know, part of our strategy is move people back out of private leases. We spend 6 billion rand a year on private leases. We want to move people back into government buildings. Rather spend that 6 billion rand a year maintaining and improving our assets than private leases. We are hopefully finishing Civitas, which will see people move in. So all of that is going to be answered in the restructuring of our property management trading entity. But we will come back to you with those answers on exactly what we plan to do. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Honourable Minister, DG, Acting Head Officer. We are closing our briefing for now. We appreciate the Honourable Leader that you have attended and engaged with us as the Minister chronicles this important journey over the past year. You are welcome to join us when the Minister presents the budget inside the main chamber in the debate. See you soon when we give another update. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Always shining.
Are you aware that there was a plan to incorporate that project to SIU? Or you are not aware?
I'm not aware of that. No.
Thank you, Minister.
Okay.
The name of the chamber.
Would I say something like that?